Hello, I am Jess. I have a butt ton of kids, a butt ton of businesses, and a butt ton of things to say. And this is my potty, One Girl Too Much, where we talk about the lessons I've learned learning to girl differently and proudly embrace becoming too much. I have my newest team member and fast becoming one of my favorite humans, Alex, with me. Hey, girl.
Hey.
Today, we are talking about one of my favorite topics. So you got to keep me on a 15 to 20 minute timeline. Do not let me rant.
You're on the leash.
We can do other episodes about this later, but the biggest lesson is being a girl in business hits different. But this is not going to be the feminist rant that everyone thinks it is, because I think sometimes we use being a woman in business as an excuse to play small and not actually recognize there's fundamental things that we need to change about ourselves, each other, the culture of women and women to play with the big fellas, alongside some very systematic change that holds us back. So I want to break down a little bit of my experience and learnings in that space, because it is a hairy, hairy one. But for me, one of the biggest ways that it started to come to light was, and I've chatted about this briefly in other episodes, it messes with your instincts. And in the early days of business, instincts is kind of all you've got. You've seen a problem and you think, I can fix that, or you've seen a business and you think, I can do that better. And that instinct is kind of all we're rolling with. You're wearing all the hats and figuring it out as you go and Googling a whole bunch. Yeah. And as women, our instincts are, whether it's social conditioning, primal instincts, I'm going to leave that topic alone, to be empathetic and outward focused. We care for others.
Yep.
And that's hard when you're learning to charge your worth, be a good leader, navigate difficult situations, not be taken advantage of. Don't even let me open the can of worms of women on women bullying each other in the business space, because that's a massive thing. And men bullying each other too. I won't typecast that way. But it messed with my instincts. I was like, am I being a good human or am I being a bad business owner? Like, what does that look like? And when you go to look for the resources, they're made for men.
Yep.
Massively. So that for me was where I guess the hamster wheel of thoughts started a little bit.
How did you become such a fierce leader and what was the road to get there?
Yeah, that's a really interesting one though, because this year is the first time in a very long time where I've doubted myself as a leader, because I grew my career through Michael Hill. And I'm so grateful to the many of the lessons they taught me, and leadership was one of them. It's very cut and dry and do's and don'ts, and probably not what it needed to be. And I've managed to evolve that with my Christian values and the business that I want to lead, and did a lot of work around that. And I have always had a benchmark of creating a work environment where women can thrive as mothers, as young people, that accommodates things from literally their cycle to the fact that we carry a mental load bigger than others, the fact that society expects us to have shaved legs and hair coloured, and why should we need an annual leave day or our weekend to go and get those things done, or, you know, everything I can. We have a domestic violence policy. We have financial education as a team. There is so much that I've paid for and put into my business to pride myself on doing business differently. But I am struggled with this constant pull to love and support people that at times feels like I get kicked in the vush a lot.
Not the vush.
Not the vush, which really is an inappropriate statement. I'm sorry, but you know, the female version of being kicked in the nuts, like it's an intentional act of hurt a lot of the time.
And that's a big lesson.
But where I struggle is I don't know where I'm doing it wrong.
Yeah, okay.
I don't want to be a different leader, but boy, I can understand how bad bosses are made. Because my life would be a lot more successful and easier if I sat you all at a desk and tracked your time and gave you some KPIs, and I didn't want your opinions, and I didn't want to give you an annual leave day to go and get your hair done and have your gyno appointment. And I didn't care. It would be easier to do those things. And I don't know if it's a generational gap. I don't know if it's part of what we talk about you know, big lifers and disconnecting from others. But yeah, this year's been hard in loving on people and feeling like it doesn't come back the way it should.
Yeah, being such a big boss lady, what is probably been your biggest lesson over the last however long?
Yeah. Look, before this year I would have said love your people.
Yeah.
Because I have built many businesses with women who have my back the way that I don't know anyone else who would. Like, we look at Cindy, who's our teammate. Love you, Cindy. She will never come on camera, so you'll probably never get to meet her. But Cindy graduated uni and was working at Woolies in the deli, chicken girl. And she came on board for 10 hours a week as a collab with another agency owner. And, you know, just at the time, not going to lie, she wasn't great, old Cindy. She had something about the work she was doing. We do very creative work. But, boy, she just gave me 100% in every scenario and just is the ultimate hype girl.
Yeah.
And on paper, when you do your values testing and your personality test, Cindy and I should not work together. We really shouldn't. My husband and I also should not be married, you know. So I find these people who hype me up and I've got to do a lot of work and make sure that I make the space for them and don't squash them and they don't get overwhelmed with empathy because my life is chaotic. But she just, if I cry, she cries. If I laugh, she laughs. If I dream big, she dreams big. If I'm upset, she's upset. If you hurt me, you hurt her.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you what that's done, regardless of the work she creates, which is fantastic. And the growth that woman has achieved, don't let me gush on that, and what we've achieved together. But just the people that have your back, and I would like to think she knows I've got hers. And we have this weird hybrid relationship where I know the big things about her life and she knows the big things about mine. But I wouldn't say we're in each other's personal lives.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, she had her engagement party at my house, but, you know, and I was at a wedding.
Yeah.
So it's not a professional relationship, but, like, I don't hit her up on the weekends. We wouldn't go partying together in certain scenarios. But she knows me probably better than I know myself in some ways.
Yeah,
and I
crazy.
think some ways I know her better than she knows herself. So I love that business has done that. And we've got a history of relationships. And Larissa, if she's listening, she was my second hire. She built her business alongside ours for 7 years.
Yeah,
we
wow.
worked together. And now she's traveling the world as a photographer. And the fact that we played a small part in that makes me so happy. And the fact that all of our staff is still friends and connected and we've launched them or seen them through a season is amazing. But this year is a bit of a different story and that's been really hard. It's hit me harder than perhaps I should admit on a podcast in front of people. But yeah, I love my people. I love them, genuinely love them. Whether there's a natural personality connection or whether I'm just grateful they choose me for such a big portion of their life, I feel such a debt to make sure they come out the other side bigger. And I think the world could use more leaders like that. But at the same time, from a business standpoint, it's not good. It's not always good. My retention this year has not been great. So I think for me, you've got to make sure that you're self-aware enough to know who to hire. And I think that's where I've gone a little bit wrong. The business had needs that made me sacrifice other values. And that's something I'll continue to figure out. But I know I'm not for everybody. And that was really important for us to explore because you were very quiet in those first interviews. I was like, is this girl going to be exhausted?
She's a mute.
I can genuinely exhaust people. I'm very aware of that. And that's not about woe is me. That's a real thing. Like even Cindy, I'm like, I'm just going to leave her alone for a while. And even if something was to go really wrong in my life, which it often does, I have to be careful about telling Cindy because I know she will feel it almost harder than I will. And if someone's wronged me, that girl, hold her hoops, you know. So like you've got to know who you are at a values level if you are going to lead that way. But I think that when I look at the early years of my business, there's no way I would have survived without people that had my back the way they did. Sonny, if you're listening, Jess, if you're listening, you know, there's been so many that have changed me as leaders, as people, and changed my business. And we've outgrown them and they've outgrown us, and you've got to let that be okay too. But yeah, I think learning to love your people is probably a lesson I'd still say, but also make sure you don't get
Caution.
kicked in the bush too much.
If you could change one thing about our industry or even just business women in general, what would you change?
I'm going to give you a few. I think understand how social conditioning and, you know, in the jealousy narrative that are all in previous things, do the work to be ready to do it. Understand what kind of person you want to be, both as a business owner. You don't have to want to make millions. You can be a fantastic freelancer and probably more profitable and earn more money than I do. But if you want to chase big things and big bucks, you do have to learn to play in a men's game and learn to do that in a way that doesn't turn you into them, but know when to level up and change and know when to lean into what makes you beautifully feminine. Example, men take risks better. We have to do that. You have to be willing to put your money where your mouth is. You have to look at it as a systematic, pragmatic thing. Men probably make better surgeons because they're looking at science, heart, blood, valves, veins. We see father, son, life, death, and that's a powerful thing in creativity, leadership, client retention, staff. Not so good when you look at money and charging your worth and taking risk. So learn to take risk is a really big one. Creating mentoring relationships and strategic partnerships. We get way too emotionally invested, and I don't want to change that about myself. But I also need to. Like, having a business partner scares me because I know that I'd go all in and love that person and not look at that pragmatically. Men do that better, and that's why that happens and sees their success. Same with mentoring.
Yeah.
We don't actively seek mentors. I can guarantee you there's someone on your Instagram you would love to have a coffee with. Guarantee you.
100%.
A man would ask. If they say no, a man would go,
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't ask.
And then we take it personally.
Yeah. Or we don't even recognize we want to have a coffee with them. We think we hate them because they do something we wish we could do but won't admit to ourselves. It's a toxic cycle, guys. That's episode number 3 or 4 back there. So mentoring relationships is a really big one. I think the last one I'm going to have a look at is the way we treat each other. So women are more likely to promote a male underneath them than a female for fear of competition.
Wild.
They're more likely to seek mentoring relationship than female relationship. There's lots of really hard stats like that. And that's still a really big play. The way that we look at a woman doing big things and think, how dare she talk about this? How, she's so arrogant. If we are confident, we're a bitch. And that has to change if we want to play on big stages in a really big way. So, look, some of these problems are bigger than I have answers for, but hopefully it has given you some insight. I haven't obviously touched on the systematic change.
Yeah.
The pay inequities is huge. Don't even get me started on the investing and the fact that we don't back women the way we need to. I'm going to change that one day. It might kill me, but I will be a venture capitalist for women at one point. Childcare, maternity leave, all of these things are massively in need of systematic change. But there's a bigger fight to fight there, and there's a lot of things staring at us that we can do right now, and it starts with a bit of awareness. So hopefully today's potty has shed a little bit of light on how that...
I think so.
Amazing.
Get out there, DM someone to go for a coffee.
Yeah. Anyone who triggers you, send them a DM. It's a great strategy. I could tell you all sorts of stories that happened when I did that. All right, we've recorded a butt ton of potties today. We are fading fast, so let's wrap it up there. I am so grateful to this girlie. Who would have thought when she sent me that email however many weeks ago that I would make her do a potty with me. But I've loved the conversation.
It's been very fun.
In our first series.
It's been so fun.
We are going to be dropping these weekly, so come back and hear what else we have to say. We also want to hear your girl lessons.
Absolutely.
Whether it's an Instagram DM or whether you can email us at hello@onegirltoomuch.com.au. Tell us your girl lessons. Tell us your funny stories. Tell us your...
The goss.
The moments that you thought, whoa, girling is a thing.
Yeah.
And what it looks like being too much for you. And in the meantime, you can head over to TikTok and find me on Too Much Jess, where I will be hanging out and sharing all exciting things we've got happening in September.
By the time this one's out,
yeah,
we're
Jimmy
busy.
might be here.
We're so busy.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. You brace yourself, guys. We're hanging on by coffee and adrenaline at this point. Love you so much. Okay, bye.